Who are you?
I'm you, but stronger.
Regional forms, one of the greatest gifts to Pokemon kind we have ever received. Introduced in Gen 7, these are still fairly new to Pokemon and I think bring some much needed love and vibrance to some designs that could definitely use it. Plus, they're just plain fun. But of course, with all these Pokemon having both their original region form and their new regional forms, they're gonna get compared to each other. Well, in today's video, that's what we're gonna be doing. I'm gonna pair up all the Pokemon with regional forms with their originals and put them to the test to see which of them I prefer. I'm basing these judgments purely based on design. I am not a competitive Pokemon player, so I do not have any knowledge of the sort. We're just judging these books by their cover. But before we get into this regional form smackdown, make sure you smack down that subscribe button for more content just like this. If your kind of thing is watching a gay guy rant about Pokemon, then I think you're in the right place. Also, let me know down in the comment section below what your favorite regional Pokemon is. Mine is absolutely a tie between Alolan Ninetales and Hisuian Zoroark. I mean, just look at that. How can you not love those flowing, luscious locks? But let's get this smackdown started. For our first competition, let's take a trip to the beautiful Alola region, the region that originated regional form Pokemon, and honestly, y'all ate this up. The Alola region left not a single crumb on this plate. These Pokemon all have full bellies they have eaten. I even put on this cute little button up to honor the Alola region because it's the first one to introduce regional forms, and we are ever so grateful to her for doing so. We gotta talk about these divas because truly the Alola form Pokemon are something special. But today is just not about honoring them. We're competing. This is a competition, and I'm gonna be given the real true tea. Of course, as usual, these are just my opinions, so if you have any Pokemon that you prefer, that's totally fine, but this is the video that I'm making on my channel, so these are my opinions. Head to head, Pokemon versus Pokemon. Let's battle it out. Which Pokemon is better, the original or the regional? Let's find out which of these divas is slaying the hardest. Rattata versus Alolan Rattata.
Fight.
For this battle, this one is easy to me. I know that youngster Joey loves his Rattata and loves to call me about it and talk to me about it every single opportunity that he gets. But girl, I don't care. Alolan Rattata, to me, I love this like grungy sewer rat kind of look, the extra hair on it, the sharper claws. I just think that this is a really cute design, so I definitely am going with Alolan here. Raticate versus Alolan Raticate.
Fight.
I don't want to give the same exact reasoning because I just feel like it's the same exact thing here. Alolan Raticate is adorable. I mean, just look at these chubby cheeks. I have never been a fan of the original Raticate. I think it's a little gross looking, and yes, I know it's based on a rat, but there's something about it to where I just can't love it. But Alolan Raticate, at the very least, I think that the color palette looks better, and like I said, the cheeks just add a cuteness factor that a Pokemon like this needs. I'm going with Alolan Raticate. Raichu versus Alolan Raichu.
Fight.
You would think this one would be a no-brainer considering how much I talk about Alolan Raichu. However, I gotta give the love, respect, and appreciation that Raichu deserves and doesn't necessarily get all the time. Yes, I know that Raichu just got two, count them, two new megas, but girl, that took a while to get. So as much and as happy for Raichu as I am, I think Raichu's incredible, I do have to go with Alolan Raichu. I mean, the cuteness factor, the rounded ears, the surfing tail, the love for pancakes, just everything about this Pokemon is amazing. And to this day, it is still our only electric psychic Pokemon, so it's got some ground there. I'm going Alolan Raichu. We got Sandshrew versus Alolan Sandshrew.
Fight.
Now for Sandshrew, both of these designs, there's not really that big of a difference between them aside from the color palette and a little bit of an indent here on Alolan Sandshrew's forehead. So it's really just kind of a color preference here, and I prefer this wintry color palette that Alolan Sandshrew has over the original, and so I'm gonna go ahead and pick Alolan Sandshrew. A clean sweep for the Alola region so far, but will it stay that way? Moving on to Sandslash versus Alolan Sandslash.
Fight.
Now again, this is a very similar thing going on here. Some of our spikes on the back have just turned into icicles, and then it's mainly just a color palette swap here. So again, it's really just whatever color you prefer, and I, like I said, enjoy the wintry colors, so I think Alolan Sandslash is where it's at for me. Also, Ice Steel is such an interesting typing offensively, but then defensively being 4 times weak to fighting. Ooh. Now, y'all already know what I'm gonna say. I included it in the intro. Y'all know what's coming, but let's just go through it anyway, just for the fun of it. Why not? We're here, we're queer, we're ready to judge some Pokemon. Vulpix versus Alolan Vulpix.
Fight.
Both are adorable. Both are incredible. Both are really, really spectacular Pokemon that I would love to have in real life if Pokemon actually existed. And I have such fond memories of Brock and his Vulpix from the anime. But that all being said, how can I not choose this adorable little flurry of a snowflake that is Alolan Vulpix? Look at this cutie. It just looks so soft, and I just would love to have one and just to pet it and play in the snow with it. It would just sound like a wonderful time. And then, of course, you got Ninetales versus Alolan Ninetales.
Fight.
And y'all already knew I'm picking Alolan Ninetales. Ninetales is an incredible Pokemon, and I need to give her her dues. I need to give the fire type queen herself the dues that she is deserved. And now that I have done that, I can go ahead and pick Alolan Ninetales. Ice Fairy typing, beautiful flowing locks, the gorgeous winter color palette. I mean, this is mythical. This is majestic. I mean, there was absolutely no doubt in my mind, and I'm sure no doubt in any of y'all's minds that this was the Pokemon I was choosing. Diglett versus Alolan Diglett.
Fight.
Now, the literal only difference here is a couple of strands of little baby hair up on top of the head. We got 3 little strands versus a bald head. So it's really dependent on, do you prefer with hair or without? Did not mean that to come out the way it came out. You know what? Let me start over. Do I prefer Diglett to have a little bit of hair on the head or a little bit of nothing? You know, now that I don't think it's going to sound good no matter what. Okay, I'm picking Alolan Diglett. I think it's cute, the little strands of hair on its head. Moving on. Dugtrio versus Alolan Dugtrio.
Fight.
Now, again, this one is really not that different. They just took Dugtrio and they put it in drag. They got some cheap wigs from the internet, maybe from Party City, who knows. Just plopped them right on top of Dugtrio, and she's ready to perform. What song would Dugtrio perform in this hair? I don't know. I have to think about that. You know, leave it down in the comment section below. If Dugtrio in this wig was about to do a drag number, what song would she be lip syncing to? Let me know. But honestly, just for the goof of it all, and I love the goof, I'm gonna go ahead and pick Alolan Dugtrio. And I also think that the scientific reasoning of all of these hairs being strands of steel and metal, I think that that's actually really cool. And so I'm gonna give it to Alolan Dugtrio for sure. Meowth versus Alolan Meowth.
Fight.
Now this is going to be our very first, which is crazy now that I'm saying it, our very first time I will be picking the Cantonian version over the Alolan version, and let me tell you why. Does it have everything to do with how classic Meowth is and how much I love Meowth in the anime? Yes, it does. Meowth is one of those Pokemon that I just feel like it's so classic, it's so awesome, and I just have such good nostalgic memories tied to it that I can't possibly choose any regional variant over it. And this was hard to do. I mean, this like prissy, prima donna, limp wrist having cat from the Alola region, you'd think that I'd be all about this. You'd think I would be all over this. I just can't in good faith, and as a good fan of the anime, I can't. So I'm picking Cantonian Meowth for Kanto's very first, and maybe only, success of the day. Nah, just kidding. I'm sure I'll pick Kanto again. Maybe. Possibly. Persian versus Alolan Persian.
Fight.
Now, this is one of the ones I go back and forth on depending on my mood. I mean, the sleek and amazing, like, wealthy cat-looking design of the original Persian is spectacular. I am actually a very, very large fan of Persian, and I wish that it got more love and more attention, and I just feel like it never really does. And then you have Alolan Persian, which is this hilariously goofy, like, pudgy-faced, Garfield-looking, I hate Mondays kind of cat with this giant round face and this like blue bead in the center of its head, and I really enjoy this design. I do. It's so freaking silly, but I think I'm gonna have to go Cantonian Persian. I think I do. In this very moment, on this very day, that's what I'm feeling. But ask me again tomorrow and it might be different. Moving on to who I think is the worst Alolan Pokemon trio and worst regional form Pokemon to ever exist, minus some, we'll get to them. But we gotta talk about them anyway because we're talking about all the regional forms, so we're gonna talk about it. Geodude versus Alolan Geodude.
Fight.
Now, do I think that the eyebrows are a little bit relatable as someone else who has very thick and luscious eyebrows on their face looking like caterpillars? Yes, very relatable content. However, there's something about these spiky little hairs on top of the head. Yes, I get the magnetism idea. It's very similar to what they did with Dugtrio and with Diglett. However, I don't like the way they did it here. It just looks like gross and stubbly and I'm not a fan. But then again, the original Geodude is also quite plain and quite boring, and there's really not a lot going on here. So it's like, do I prefer the original that's a little bland, or do I prefer a little extra but with some gross hairs on top? Purely for the eyebrows, I am gonna give it to Alolan Geodude. But girl, you got lucky. I wouldn't even invite you to my birthday party. Speaking of people who are not getting an invite to my birthday party, let's talk about Graveler versus Alolan Graveler.
Fight.
Ugly. Ugly. Oh my God. Oh, I don't even like looking at it on my computer screen right now. Just for the sake of time, and so I don't have to look at this thing any longer than I have to, I am picking Cantonian Graveler because, girl, I'm not doing it. I don't like these stubby arm hairs. And also, I know I see the gold throughout its body. I understand what they're doing. It looks like pieces of corn on something that I'm not gonna say because I have respect and I'm a gentleman. I'm not gonna talk about that here on the channel, but y'all know what I'm saying. It's gross, it's awful, and I don't like it. Cantonian Graveler wins. Moving on, Golem versus Alolan Golem.
Fight.
Now this, I think, out of all of them is the most successful. I think that Alolan Golem, the hair, the mustache, the beard, it looks nice. These short, stubby little arms are a little funny and hilarious. I do kind of enjoy that. We got the electric magnetized part up top. Like, I think this is actually fairly decent, and I don't mind it. However, Golem, to me, the original Cantonian version, is pretty classic. I like it a lot, and I feel like I gotta go with Golem here. I've actually always been a real big fan of Golem. I think it's a very underrated Pokemon, and I think that a lot of people didn't really get the chance to use it back then because it was a trade evolution. So I enjoy it. I'm picking Cantonian Golem. Gaymer versus Alolan Gaymer.
Fight.
Now these are fun. I like the color difference. I like that they added the teeth. I think that this is very, very silly, and they added something new and exciting to a otherwise just pile of sludge. So for that reason, I'm picking Alolan Gaymer, just because they added a little bit of goof, and I will always pick up on that and receive it well. Muck versus Alolan Muck.
Fight.
If you thought that I was not going to be picking Alolan Muck as the alternating rainbow color scheme that it has, you are sadly mistaken. You thought I was going to see a Pokemon like this that has alternating colors, and that I wasn't gonna pick it. I do have to give a quick shout out though to Ash's Muck, because Ash's Muck is hilarious, and I loved whenever it popped up in the anime. That all being said, I'm still picking Alolan Muck. I love its colors so much. Amazing thing what they managed to do here. Exeggutor versus Alolan Exeggutor.
Fight.
Both of these Pokemon are silly. Both of these Pokemon are crazy, wacky, wild. I'm picking Alolan because this is, I feel like, exactly what this Pokemon is meant to be. It is perfect. I mean, taking this Pokemon that has these like coconut heads and giving it this like super extremely hilariously tall exaggerated body, making it a grass dragon type, which is already funny enough in itself, but the fact that it scientifically actually makes sense because of the plant it's based on, but it just doesn't look like a dragon at all. Like, this Pokemon is as funny as it gets, and I loved when this stupid thing came out, and so I'm picking it. Our final Alolan Pokemon before we move on to the next region is going to be Marowak versus Alolan Marowak.
Fight.
Now both these Pokemon, great. Huge fan of Marowak, a Pokemon I feel does not get as much love as it deserves, especially for a Pokemon that did play a pretty big piece in a story part of the original game, with the mother Marowak being in the Lavender Tower. So Marowak holds a pretty high place in my rankings in terms of original Kanto Pokemon. But I gotta give it to Alolan Marowak. What they managed to do here is spectacular. The Fire Ghost typing, amazing. The color palette swap, incredible. The fire on top of the bones to make it look like a dancer. Alolan Marowak ate this up, left no crumbs, threw the plate at my face, and I said thank you. I'm giving it to Alolan Marowak. So that's a wrap for the Alola region, and Alola pretty much swept most, if not all, of those battles. So good on you, Alola region. You are incredible, and I will forever be thankful to you for introducing us to these regional forms. But now it is time to move on to the UK, hun. Over to the Galar region. Starting off with another Meowth variant we have here with Meowth versus Galarian Meowth.
Fight.
And now this Meowth, I don't feel as passionately about this as I felt about the Alolan Meowth. I think that I enjoy what they wanted to do here. I like that it's very scraggly, scrungly, it's got all that extra hair, it's got the black coin on top of its head. I think that this is actually pretty successful for what they are going for, but if I didn't give it to Alolan Meowth, I'm certainly not giving it to Galarian Meowth over the original that I already explained I feel so much love and nostalgia for. I'm still giving it to Cantonian Meowth. As soon as I say the names of these Pokemon, y'all already know what I'm gonna pick. Y'all already know what I'm gonna pick, and you don't even have to debate it back and forth. You don't even gotta think about it. You know what I'm gonna choose. Ponyta versus Galarian Ponyta.
Fight.
Do I need to really debate this? This cotton candy, pastel, beautiful, magical, whimsical baby unicorn. I'm picking it. I'm sorry, Ponyta, I love you, but I just can't. And then the even more obvious choice, let's talk about Rapidash versus Galarian Rapidash.
Fight.
I mean, look at this Pokemon. When this Pokemon was revealed and I saw it for the first time, I actually gagged. I choked. I said, are you kidding me? We're making Pokemon that look like this now? This is incredible. The girls, the gays, and the theys were thriving because this Pokemon became the mother that I always wanted. And I have a mother that I love very, very dearly. She is my entire life. Shout out to my mom. But Galarian Rapidash is mother. Slowpoke versus Galarian Slowpoke.
Fight.
And now this is fine. This is a very, very minor change between Slowpoke to Galarian Slowpoke. We really just slapped some yellow paint on the forehead and maybe a little bit of yellow on the tail got caught. And we called it a day. So this one, I mean, I don't really care. It really could go either way. I think this is the first time that I truly don't really see a difference, pretty much. So I'm gonna go with Cantonian Slowpoke just because it's a classic to me. Slowbro versus Galarian Slowbro.
Fight.
I think the concept of what they did here with making this a poison psychic type, giving a shelter on the arm as essentially a gun that it shoots, crazy. What they did here. I would not have thought of this concept in a million years for a Slowbro regional variant, but girl, they did it. I really enjoy this a lot, but I have to give it to Cantonian Slowbro. This Pokemon is iconic, it's derpy, it's silly, I love it. I am such a huge fan of Slowbro, and I have a lot of good memories of it from using it back in the day. And also, when I first became a Pokemon Unite player, I actually used Slowbro a lot. I was a Slowbro main for a good couple of months there, so I have a very high affinity for this Pokemon. Farfetch'd versus Galarian Farfetch'd.
Fight.
Farfetch'd is a Pokemon that I feel like deserves some love, attention, a new form. Like, it deserved something for so freaking long. And so I was so excited that the idea of it finally getting something, but I think I just wish it would have gotten a evolution or a cross-gen evo instead of a regional form, and that's genuinely what I feel in my soul. And so seeing a Pokemon that is as cool as a fighting type regional variant like the Galarian version that looks really awesome, it has this like super serious like fighter demeanor, I love it, and that's why I am going to be picking Galarian Farfetch'd. But it still makes me sad to this day that I do wish it had just gotten a cross-gen evo. Weezing versus Galarian Weezing.
Fight.
And now this one is tricky because I like both of these a lot. Original Weezing, I mean, we gotta talk about the James, the anime of it all. I mean, this Pokemon, iconic. The amount of smoke screens that I saw the main characters fighting through every single episode, wild. But the poison fairy concept that they have here of like, this is a Weezing that instead of producing poisonous air, kind of produces purified air, and it's actually good for the environment. Like, I wish that we had Galarian Weezing in real life. The planet would be saved. Also, I gotta talk about this mustache, this Doug Dimmadome hat that it's got on its head. Every time I use a Galarian Weezing, I name it Doug Dimmadome. I kid you not. Like, I can't name it anything else. That's just who it is. So I don't know. I'm really going back and forth on this one. I love both of them so much, but I think I'm going to give it to Galarian Weezing. But this is another one where I really could go back and forth. Ask Me Tomorrow could be different. Mr. Mime versus Galarian Mr. Mime.
Fight.
Now, Mr. Mime is creepy. It's straight up creepy, and don't even talk about it from the Detective Pikachu movie because I don't want to remember that. I had enough nightmares, I don't need to see it again. Mr. Mime at this point is just a massively memeable, hilariously creepy type of Pokemon, and so seeing it get a Galarian version, I was not expecting that. And I'm actually a massive fan of Mr. Rime. I think Mr. Rime is a great Pokemon, though unfortunately it is an evolution of a regional Pokemon, so it will not be included in today's video. So strictly talking about Galarian Mr. Mime, I love that it's a tap dancer. I don't understand why it's an ice type. I don't get that, but I do think that this design is actually kind of cute. I don't mind it. It definitely does look a little less creepy than the original. I'm just gonna put it out there. So I'm gonna go ahead and I unfortunately have to put Mr. Mime to the side, and I'm picking Galarian Mr. Mime. Detective Pikachu really really did a number on this thing to me. Next up, we have Slowking versus Galarian Slowking.
Fight.
And I think that this one is tricky. I love both of these Pokemon so very much. I think that out of all of the Galarian Slowpoke regionals, I think that this is the most successful. I think that this is my favorite. I enjoy it a lot. I love this idea of like the parasite taking over the whole head. You can't even see its eyes. Like it's just essentially taken over the whole body. And I love that concept so much to where I think I am going to pick it over the original Slowking. Is that crazy? Like, I just think this concept is so strong that I have to. I don't have a choice. Gagged me a bit for sure. Jotonian Corsola versus Galarian Corsola.
Fight.
It's sad. It's sad what they did here. This is actually awful and tragic, but I mean, what a statement for our environment. Just like I was talking about with Galarian wheezing, I think this makes a very bold statement about bleached coral and our awful dying ecosystem, but you know, it's an important message to send. Taking a Pokemon like Corsola that is so like cheery, bright pink, fun, and then turning it into a ghost type, all white, ghostly, ghastly, dreary, depressed, and sad. Like, the concept here, again, is just so strong that I can't not pick it. The concept here is so freaking good, and as much as I love the original Corsola, that is a grade A cutie right there. I gotta pick Galarian Corsola. Moving on to what I think is one of the strongest regional forms we have ever received that made me have a complete turnaround on a Pokemon, we gotta talk about Galarian Zigzagoon and Galarian Linoon. Let's first talk about Zigzagoon versus Galarian Zigzagoon.
Fight.
And based on my first statement, you already know who I'm gonna be picking. I am picking Galarian Zigzagoon. I mean, the black and white color palette, this kiss makeup, the tongue out of the mouth. I mean, this rock star vibe that they gave this Pokemon, like, I don't know who came up with this idea, who came up with this concept for this new evolutionary regional line, but whoever did it, girl, you deserve every bit of praise, every raise, you deserve to have gold falling out of your pockets for the rest of your life, because I love this idea. I love it. It's so fun. It's great. It's exciting. It's fresh. It's everything I want. The same goes for Linoon versus Galarian Linoon.
Fight.
It's pleasing to the eye to look at. It's really silly. I love it so freaking much. Galarian Linoon all the way. Way to take like these bland, basic Pokemon that like I didn't really care for, have an opinion of, and completely turned them around. Next up is Darumaka versus Galarian Darumaka.
Fight.
And again, just like Sandshrew and Sandslash, this to me is just taking a Pokemon and giving it a wintry color palette. So it really is just, which color do you prefer? As I've already stated, I like the winter colors. I love the blues. I think that it's great. I'm going ahead and picking Galarian Darumaka. There is actually a bit of a design difference here, unlike some of these other like ice type winter Pokemon changes. I actually do think between these two, I prefer the original. I mean, I like the Abominable Snowman vibe that they got going on, but the original, I used it several times on black and white playthroughs. I think that this Pokemon is actually really fun and great and silly, and I think that I have to go with the original here. And for Zen mode, I honestly feel the same way. I wish that the Zen mode was just what it was all the time. I mean, Ice Fire, an incredible typing I've been waiting to see, and it looks so great, but it's just you never really get to use it and you never really get to see it, and so it is a little bit disappointing. I wish it just looked like this all the time, and just for that, I'm gonna pick it because I love it, but that doesn't mean I'm not disappointed. Yamask versus Galarian Yamask.
Fight.
I mean, this one to me is a no-brainer. It's so easy. There's very minor difference. It's what they're carrying on the bottom of their little wispy end. I don't know what to call that. Tail? Wisp? Like, I don't know. Their little tail thing. Whatever their hand? I don't know. I definitely prefer Unova Yamask because the whole storyline of like carrying the face of what they used to look like, that is such a good creepy concept for a ghost type Pokemon, like carrying the face that you used to have when you were living. Love. So I'm picking Unova Yamask. Stunfisk versus Galarian Stunfisk. I mean, girl.
Fight.
I don't care. I don't care. There is a concept here. I like that the mouth looks like a Pokeball, you know, like the items we normally pick up, and it's kind of like a bear trap that's trying to get you for picking it up. It has a concept, and it looks the way it looks, and I can respect the concept. However, it's ugly. I don't like looking at it. And I'm not saying that every Pokemon has to be pretty and, you know, aesthetically pleasing to look at. but it does impact my opinions just a little bit. And so I am going to go ahead and I'm going to pick Unova Stunfisk. I do think that Unova Stunfisk is derpy, it's pretty funny, and I think that is enough to just edge out the goodness of this concept of Galarian Stunfisk to me. And finally, wrapping up our Galarian form Pokemon, we got some legendary regional forms. I was not expecting legendary regionals. Like, what are we doing here? This is wild. And I think these are still to this day the only legendary regionals we have gotten, so I can't believe that we did something like this. But it was kind of fun to breathe new life into these legendary Pokemon that I feel like didn't really get a ton of attention. Starting off with Articuno versus Galarian Articuno.
Fight.
I mean, I think that what they did here was actually really cool, giving it this like mastermind super villain crossed wings, like I'm so intelligent type of vibe, just glaring you down with its freezing glare. Like, I think this is actually really fun. They made it a psychic type, which is cool. I think that all of these Galarian forms have such interesting concepts to them and interesting designs, but I am such a huge fan of the original. I think Articuno in its base original Cantonian form is probably one of my favorite Kanto Pokemon to begin with, and so we're already working with something that I think is perfect, so I'm gonna pick Cantonian Articuno, but that is a very, very biased choice by me. Moving on to Zapdos versus Galarian Zapdos.
Fight.
I think this is the most fun change to its Galarian form from the original. I mean, making it roam around on land, it's like a road runner, changing this yellow to this bright orange. I think that changing this to a fighting type was also a really fun, exciting decision. I don't know, like, this just feels like such a drastic change from the original, but in a good way. Like, sometimes when you take a huge swing and miss, it just doesn't work, but this was a huge swing and it completely paid off. Like, this is phenomenal. So I love you, Zapdos, but I'm going Galarian. Moltres versus Galarian Moltres.
Fight.
Now, these are both pretty fun, but I got to give it to Galarian Moltres. I mean, this Galarian Moltres, this dark color palette, these big red flames, this like scary looking dark type design. Girl, I'm all over it. Moltres decided to get a job at Hot Topic, and I love your life choices, girl, because it looks great. So as we wrap up the Galar region, I believe once again the Galarian forms pretty much swept for the most part, not as cleanly as Alola, but just goes to show that regional forms, they're not to be messed around with. Some of these slay the house down boots. They are so freaking good. But next up, we are moving a little bit back in time, heading on over to the Hisui region, one of my favorite regions to explore in any Pokemon game, and that does not exclude the fun that I felt for all of its new regional form Pokemon. We have some bangers here in the Hisui region. Like, I would go to war for some of these Pokemon. The battles I would fight to protect these creatures is wild. Starting out, of course, with a very good boy, we gotta talk about Growlithe versus Hisuian Growlithe.
Fight.
And this is such a hard decision because they're both so adorable and fun, and I would love, again, to have these in real life. I feel the same way about this that I do about Vulpix. I love the statue reference and inspiration for this Pokemon, so I think that obviously Hisuian Growlithe here, for concept alone, I gotta pick it. Arcanine versus Hisuian Arcanine.
Fight.
I gotta go with the same reasoning here. I mean, Arcanine is a legendary Pokemon, and I mean that because the anime literally called it a legendary Pokemon, but I know that it ain't. But Hisuian Arcanine, I mean, this sculpted rock around its body, this cloud-looking tail, and on the feet, these little details, and just the reference of the concept here is just so well done and executed. I can't not choose it. I like something that is masterfully done, and this I feel like absolutely was. Although Fire Rock as a typing, ooh, Hisuian Arcanine, you in danger, girl. Voltorb versus Hisuian Voltorb.
Fight.
Let me just start off by saying that I actually love what they did here. I love that they took the wooden Pokeballs that we are making in the ancient times in the ancient Hisui region and took a Pokemon like Voltorb and Electrode that a lot of people thought we were never going to touch again, and actually made a regional form for them that makes complete and total sense. Also, it being electric grass typing, love that for it. I love the change in attitude that both the different forms have from the originals, so I don't know, these ones, it really could go back and forth, so I think it just depends depends on preference. And the one that I prefer between the two of them is going to be Hisuian Voltorb. Electrode versus Hisuian Electrode.
Fight!
For this one, I think the same could be said. I think that this one is very, very silly, very fun, and well done. I love the flipped emotion, like I mentioned for Voltorb, and that it's different from its original form, and I think that this one, I used one on my playthrough. It was really fun to use, and so maybe I'm a little bit biased here, but again, my preference is the Hisuian form. Qwilfish versus Hisuian Qwilfish.
Fight!
Qwilfish is a Pokemon for a long time I wanted to see get some love and attention, possibly a new evolution, and this is very similar to Farfetch'd in the sense of it got a new form and that new form got an evolution. I was very happy to see it, however, I was a little disappointed that Qwilfish now probably will never get an evolution, but I'm going to try to not judge it as harshly because of that. Same thing with Farfetch'd. I actually do quite enjoy what they did here with this dark poison typing. I think this darker design and color palette works. I love the new design on the tail, and then obviously Overqwil is amazing, but we're not judging Overqwil right now. We're just talking about Qwilfish. But I think honestly, just because of the color palette swap and the fact that it looks a little bit meaner, which I feel like fits this Pokemon, I definitely think the Hisuian form takes the cake for me. Or whatever pufferfish eats, definitely not cake. Sneasel versus Hisuian Sneasel.
Fight!
Now, this one I think is very, very interesting because it's kind of just a color palette swap. I mean, this with a little bit of like rougher looking claws, it's kind of the same thing. So like I mentioned before with some of these just being a color preference, I think that this is also going to be in a similar vein to that. It's kind of just whatever color palette you prefer between the two of them. Love Sneasler, but again, these evolutions, they don't matter right now. And I think if we're just talking about what they look like between the two of them that are very similar, I do prefer the original Johtonian Sneasel over this one. Also, can we talk about how we could have gotten our first ice poison typing with Sneasler, and I feel like that was a complete missed opportunity. I'm contemplating making an entire video talking about unused Pokemon typings and how we could have gotten them by now, but let me know if you'd be interested in that. Lilligant versus Hisuian Lilligant.
Fight!
Now look, y'all, these Pokemon, you know I'm about both of them. They're both the divas, they're both the dolls. I worship the both of them absolutely wholeheartedly, 10,000%, but I have to give it to one of them. And as much as I love the dainty, elegant look here of regular Unova Lilligant, I do have to give it to Hisuian Lilligant. I think what they managed to do here, making it a dancer, giving it ballet inspiration, was really delightful and really fun to see. I love this like dancer pose that it has going on. I took ballet class, so I am a little bit biased here as well to my preferences, but I think it's gorgeous. I remember way back when Legends Arceus came out, my roommate at the time actually mentioned maybe adding a little bit of a leaf tutu around the waist, and I still think that that could be really, really adorable, and I do think that could have been a thing, but I still like this Pokemon a lot without it. Also, the way that its little feet look like dance shoes, love. Zoroa versus Hisuian Zoroa.
Fight!
Both these Pokemon are cuties. Both these Pokemon are amazing. You already know. I think these Pokemon are great. We're really talking about two stark color variations here with massive differences between the both of them. The original being dark and mischievous and trickster-like, and the Hisuian version being like innocent and ghastly looking. This is a really tough one because I love the original a lot, but I think that they really just cooked here with these Hisuian forms. I mean, y'all knew from the intro that I love this Pokemon. Like, when I think regional variant Pokemon, this is now one of the Pokemon that I think of. Like, this is the dictionary definition of a perfectly well done regional form Pokemon. I gotta go Hisuian Zoroark. And for Zoroark versus Hisuian Zoroark, I'm not gonna waste no time. It's Hisuian Zoroark, no question. Original Zoroark is great and perfect and amazing. How do you improve on perfection? By just making it even more perfect. I know that makes actually zero sense, but just roll with it. Hisuian Zoroark is flawless in my opinion. I would not change a damn thing about this Pokemon. It's spooky, it's creepy, it's something that I just am such a massive fan of, and I don't know if they will ever release another regional form Pokemon that I am this big of a fan of ever again. It's gotta be Hisuian Zoroark. Braviary versus Hisuian Braviary.
Fight!
Now, Braviary is a Pokemon that I did not really have any particular feelings about, and so it getting a regional form, I was actually kind of excited because I didn't really know what to expect or what direction they were going to take in it. With all the extra extra feathers and added plumage on its body to make it warmer in the cold climate that it lives in, and all the psychic energy on the eyes on top of its head. I think that it's actually a really fun design and made me enjoy Braviary a little bit more from the original, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick Hisuian Braviary because this design actually made me look at a Pokemon that I didn't really care about. Sliggoo versus Hisuian Sliggoo.
Fight!
Now, for these Pokemon, I'm actually going to give essentially the same answer for the both of them, in that I feel like the added bit of the steel shell just adds so much personality to these Pokemon. They were already great. I think the Goomy evolution line is really spectacular and adorable and cute, but adding the shell, especially for a Pokemon like Sliggoo, that it can like pop in and out, it just adds so much to the design and just another moving part to it that I just think is really fun. I also love seeing it roll around in the field. I'm picking Hisuian Sliggoo. Goodra versus Hisuian Goodra.
Fight!
It's about the same thing here. The way that it can pop in and out of its shell is awesome and adorable. I just love this design so much. I think it improves upon Goodra a lot, and that's saying something because Goodra's already fantastic. I kind of feel similarly to this as I do with Zoroark, if they took a great Pokemon and somehow managed to make it greater, in my opinion. Hisuian Goodra for sure. Also, Steel Dragon, what an incredible typing. Speaking of incredible typings, we are straying from that with Avalugg to Hisuian Avalugg.
Fight!
Oh man, Ice Rock is such an unfortunate typing. It's really, offensively, you'd think it'd be amazing, but the problem is that it's so slow that it can't make any benefit to that whatsoever unless you set up a trick room, which is like, how many times am I really gonna set up a trick room? Girl, I don't play competitive Pokemon. Do I look like Wolfie to you? No, I'm a gay guy reading Pokemon on the internet. So this one to me is kind of similar to Braviary, to Hisuian Braviary, in that I didn't really care about Avalugg before, and I still don't really care about Avalugg now, unfortunately. So sorry to this mandibled man, but I think that the Hisuian form is a little better just because I think the jaw adds a lot. However, I do not love this color palette swap on the legs. I know we had to add the rock typing and we had to show that somewhere, but I just don't like it. But I like the jaw enough to look past it. Now let's go ahead and move on to our Hisuian starter Pokemon, starting off with my absolute favorite, which is Typhlosion to Hisuian Typhlosion.
Fight!
I'm just gonna clock it right now, and I'm gonna tell myself that this is absolutely biased. I am absolutely biased in this choice, but this is my ranking video. I'm picking, I'm choosing, and so I'm gonna be picking Hisuian Typhlosion. I'm a huge fan of this Pokemon. I think that this Pokemon is really fun. I was already a massive Cynical person, so the Typhlosion line already holds such a special place in my heart, and so seeing a Typhlosion get this extra ghost typing, this like purple and red wispy flames, and like all this added character to its design, I am absolutely here for it, and I'm so glad that they did my boy justice, and so Hisuian Typhlosion is that girl to me. Talking about another peak Pokemon design, let's talk about Decidueye to Hisuian Decidueye.
Fight!
Now, original Decidueye is already great. It's already awesome. I mean, the whole Robin Hood vibe, the pulling the sleeve strings to also make a bow. Are you kidding me? So how do you improve upon that? Well, you make it even more amazing. But this one I feel like is equally amazing for completely different reasons. I wouldn't say that original Decidueye needed to be fixed or improved upon, but just taking something that's already good and then giving it something that is equal in greatness, but it makes complete sense, like changing the color scheme to making it a more fall color scheme, giving it this like Ronin hat that it's got on, making it more of a physical fighter instead of a special fighter. Everything here that they did is so good, and I think honestly, if I wasn't so biased towards Hisuian Typhlosion, I would say that this is probably the best out of all the Hisuian starters that they did, point blank period, but my bias does get in the way just a tad. And finally, wrapping up the Hisui region with our last Hisuian starter, Samurott versus Hisuian Samurott.
Fight!
Once again, I think both these Pokemon are actually very solid. I love the original and all of its samurai color palettes, but I think what the Hisuian version does a little bit better, in my opinion, that I just prefer design-wise, is they took all of these shells and made them in a darker color palette. They made them a little more jagged and rough around the edges and spiky and spiny, and I just think that this vibe of like the dark samurai really is cool and evilly looking, but like, I think that this design was pretty cool. Even the beard and facial hair going from Unova Samurott to Hisuian Samurott is a little more messy and rugged, and I think it fits the design perfectly, so you can tell there was a lot of thought put into this. Even if it looks like it's not a massive change, it absolutely is in my opinion. Enough to where I'm picking Hisuian Samurott. Once again, just proving how amazing these regional forms are in these regions, and I picked pretty much most of them. So Hisui, honestly, I think this next to Alola, probably some of the best forms we are ever gonna get out of any single region. I think the Hisui region really did such a phenomenal job. And also because I know somebody's gonna comment about it, no, I will not be including Hisuian Basculin or the White Stripe Basculin because I know that sometimes it is considered a regional variant, but however, I personally don't really view it as a regional variant. Like, it is literally Basculin with a different colored stripe. But I knew that somebody down below was gonna say it, but I don't know, girl, I never thought of it as a Hisuian Pokemon. So even if it is technically sometimes considered one, I don't really see it as one, but if you want me to pick, I'm picking Unova. Let's move on to Paldea, our final and most recent region with regional form Pokemon. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't massively disappointed. We're talking about a gimmick of something for Pokemon that had been so incredible, so well done, so apparent, and all these regions had a lot of choices of regional form Pokemon, and now we have a few? Did we just forget that this is something that people like? Did we just forget this is something people enjoy? I don't know why in the Paldea region we just suddenly forgot that regional form Pokemon are spectacular and awesome and amazing, and I was hoping to see them. But let's talk about the ones that we do have, okay? Because the ones that we do have are actually pretty successful, you know, of the 2 Pokemon that we get to talk about. 2! Let's talk about Tauros. We got Tauros versus Paldean Tauros, and not just 1, not just 2, we got 3 different forms to talk about.
Fight!
And I gotta give it to Paldean Tauros. I mean, the original, yes, it is essentially just a color swap here from going from the brown design to the black design, but we gotta talk about Blaze Breed and Aqua Breed because this is where it is at. I am so freaking happy that they decided to do this for Tauros because just having the color palette change honestly would not have been enough for me. I think Tauros is a Pokemon that deserves a lot of attention and love, and I was happy to see it get some, especially with these forms. I have used both of these Pokemon on teams. I'm a big fan of these designs. I love the way that they changed the tail and changed the horn for the both of them, have the added bits of color in the black mane. Absolute moi chef's kiss to both these Pokemon. I'm picking Paldean Tauros, specifically Blaze Breed and Aqua Breed. But Combat Breed, you're fine too. And our final and tiniest regional form Pokemon we gotta talk about in this video, let's talk about Wooper versus Paldean Wooper.
Fight!
And it feels kind of crazy to be ending on this form because this is really not a huge, massive difference. I love Wooper. Wooper is derpy and iconic and amazing, and so seeing it get a new form, I was like, oh, okay, but I feel like Clodsire really is the showcase here. Clodsire really is the big derpy spectacle and what people will use this line for. Paldean Wooper is still pretty fun. I do like the way that they changed its little fins on the side of its head, or little antenna. I don't know what they are. Those little things on the side of its head. It makes like a little poison cross symbol, and I think that that was a really fun idea. But the original is so iconic to me, and so I'm gonna pick Johtonian Wooper here, just because it's so original to me. And there you have it. We're already done with the Paldea region. Ain't that crazy? Ain't that crazy? Yeah, Paldea, I don't really know what you were doing. Go on, girl. Give us nothing. But there you have it. There are all my regional form Pokemon and which ones I think are better than their originals. Let me know down in the comment section below if you agree, if you disagree with any of my choices today. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I have such a love and appreciation for regional form Pokemon, and I really hope to see in Generation 10, which is hopefully coming out sometime soon and gonna be revealed at our next Pokemon Direct, that we will be getting more regional form Pokemon. I know we took a little bit of a break from them in Scarlet and Violet with only having 2 Paldea forms, but I hope that changes in the next game for sure. If you enjoyed this video and want to see me judge some other types of Pokemon, I have plenty of other videos where I am judging some Mega Evolutions and Mega Pokemon, especially those new ones in Legends ZA, so go and check those out as well if you enjoyed this video. Bye-bye!